Right, sir. So, when you take the babies, some babies have risk factors. So the risk factors are like there is a previous family history of hearing loss, or baby has dysmorphism, baby has a NICU stay, or baby had postnatal infections like meningitis, other DVT, jaundice requiring DVT. So these are all risk factors. One approach is doing a risk factor based screening. And another approach is doing screening for all the babies. Though the risk factor based screening is cost effective, it will miss many children. And if we miss the children, they would be following up with us in a later age. So even if we collect at that time, the results will be not very good because speech and language development, most of it takes place in the first 6 months. So all our guidelines recommend universal newborn hearing screening. RBSK, it suggests all babies should be screened at the time of birth as a part of screening for all the common birth defects. Even our IAP and NNF recommend universal newborn hearing screening as ideal. So, sir, all the babies should be screened.
So,
there is no doubt about it.
There is no doubt. In fact, all babies born in all the hospitals, all health facilities should be screened for hearing. If you do not do it, how many are you going? If you're just doing selective ones to the higher risk, admitted in your NICUs, or those who receive those kind of antibiotics or drugs, so how much are you going to miss?
Yeah, the prevalence of this hearing loss in congenital hearing loss would be around 3 to 4 children per every 1,000 live births. And if you take the high risk group, like the babies who are admitted in NICU, it is even 10-fold higher. So, and if we do selective screening, as our different studies show, 20 to 40% of the babies get missed. So, almost half of the babies, 1/4 to half of the babies get missed if we do selective screening.
So, people, you can actually miss out so many of congenitally deaf babies. Yeah, sure. Which screening methodology will you use? ABBR or autoacoustic emission?
So we have, for screening, we have 2 tools which are available. One is checking the autoacoustic emissions, which basically sees the cochlear integrity and the other is the AABR. So AABR also sees the brainstem response. According to the risk factor, if it is a well baby, we can perform either OAE or AABR, and if the test fails, rescreening can be again either by OAE or by AABR. But if it is a high-risk baby, a baby who had a NICU stay more than 5 days or other high-risk factors, it is always recommended to do AABR. Because in these children, there is auditory neuropathy or auditory dysynchrony which is common, which cannot be tested by OAEs. So, if there is a risk factor, mostly NICU stay, it is recommended to do AABR, otherwise OAE would be fine.
Funny, what is the correct right time? Immediately after birth, few hours later, 24 hours, 48 hours, after 1 week, what is the right time? Or rescreen if needed?
So the most ideal time for screening would be prior to discharge, after first day. Usually in the first day, first, second days, baby would have middle ear fluid and debris in the outer ear canal. So prior to discharge, it is important that prior to discharge, the baby should be screened. And if the baby fails, rescreening should be done by 1 month of age. So by 1 month, this screening is actually a 2-step process. It's not a 1-step process, it is a 2-step process. If a baby fails in the first step, baby has to be rescreened because false positive rate is high. So both these steps should be finished within first 1 month. Like the baby should be screened within 1 month, and by the age of 3 months, baby should have a diagnosis. The diagnosis is usually made by confirmatory tests. There is a panel of tests which are done, like behavior audiometry and then BERA, confirmatory BERA. So all these tests are to be done, and baby should be diagnosed by 3 months, and management should be started within first 6 months of life as early as possible.
Good. So as funny it has been shown also, 8, 3 or 6, 1, 3 and 6 are important things. You do screening immediately on the, before discharge, whether it is on day 1 or day 3 or day 4, and then if failed, then go for rescreening at 1 month, and then by 3 months actually make a diagnosis. And please do something by 6 months of age if you really want to make a difference to that baby, because otherwise they will. I saw an adult in a gym a few days back, young adult and no hearing, absolutely fine adult. So we could have missed such kind of conditions.
Actually, few countries are now moving from 136 to 123.
What is
So they are still they have gained this attained all this 136 landmark, and most of the countries like developed countries are in 123.
So with our confirmatory paras being so scarce at this point, I think 136 is also a challenge for us right
Yeah.
now. How do you take the neonate forward if it comes positive, the confirmatory para comes positive for hearing loss or hearing deafness?
So if the baby is diagnosed with hearing loss, which is confirmed after the battery of tests, the family should be communicated in a very empathetic way and non-biased, open fashion way, because it is difficult for them to understand at that point of time that the baby is not able to hear. So, and it is very important to intervene at that time. So, counseling the family is one of the most important thing. And then regular surveillance, starting off giving a trial of hearing aid, and then going for next interventions like bone conduction hearing devices, assisted hearing technologies, and also cochlear implants as early as possible, which will preserve the main language and speech development so that the social aspect of the baby gets developed well.
And all these are now available with government in government program in Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram, and I think Delhi again has said that we will provide all these facilities to babies who are diagnosed. So we have the government's mandate in that program also. So thank you, Sunny. And I think with Ashok I'll be a little faster, and I think it will be a rapid fire kind of question because it is about retired ROP. And you are an expert. I think you will handle the rapid fire very fast. Why should a pediatrician be concerned about ROP screening?
Sir,
Pediatrician.
Thank you, sir. Yes. If we see India tops the list of the countries with the highest preterm birth rate, and around this the 2 lakh neonates require develop ROP. So, as we see that we do not want only the survival of the baby, as the theme also says that we want the intact survival of these babies. So, if we care the baby in RB2 and we do not screen that, and that baby becomes blind for the whole of his life, and it will be very much unfortunate for us and also for the parents. So timely screening and timely treatment is the only way to prevent this, so that all the babies can see this beautiful. The second most important thing is the medical evidence.
I think Dr. B.K. Goyal can say something about it also. Sir, about this medical issues of ROP.
Important is to diagnose rightly, especially in the preterm babies. One should be aware to diagnose. After diagnosis, important is to educate the parents about the disease process and the treatment part. And third, most important, what we say in medical legal, document it. Document it in papers that you have diagnosed it in a proper way, and you have counseled the parents. Both the things has to be documented in your papers.
Good. Thank you, sir. Because we have a case right now in Delhi in some hospital where they were doing a screening. It was kind of told to them to go there, but now the family is saying, I was not told that it can lead to blindness.
Yes.
Now they are complaining and they have put up the case because I was not counseled about possibility of blindness in the child. So that kind of medical legal issue was there. So thank you, sir. So not only telling them, actually telling them what it can lead to and have a written kind of somewhere from them also. Ashok, which babies need to screen, when and what frequency?
So sir, for screening of the babies, we have our NNF and RBSK guidelines. So all the babies who are below 34 weeks of gestation with a birth weight or less than birth weight of 2000 grams, or the babies who are between 34 to 36 weeks and with the risk factors like prolonged oxygen exposure, ventilation, apneas, blood transfusion, these all babies should be screened. And if any other baby whom with unstable course, the pediatrician wants that it should be screened, then the baby should be screened.
So like we are doing it for almost all unstable babies in Delhi, then we are doing ROP screening. So it's a USA sponsored program in Delhi in that name also, so we are doing that. When and how frequently?
So there was a very well-known saying that "Tees din roshni ke." So the first screening should be done at 4 weeks of life for every eligible baby. And if the gestation is less than 28 weeks and birth weight is less than 1200 grams, then we have to do somewhat early at around 2 to 3 weeks of life. Then the subsequent examination should be done after 2 weeks subsequently, or advised by the ophthalmologist, or until the vascularization reaches up to the zone 3, or the ophthalmologist thinks that now the screening is not needed.
So if it is completely mature, then certainly you have to stop screening at that time. How a pediatrician can ensure that every baby discharged by him must be screened for ROP, because this is what is causing a lot of problems.
So this is the most important part of the ROP screening, sir. And the most important reason behind the ROP related blindness is basically failure to screen these babies. If we screen timely, then the treatment can be given, it is curable. So every unit should have its own protocol. Like in PGI, we have our own protocol. Every Saturday, all the babies eligible for ROP screening, they are screened. And at the time of discharge, this is the most important thing, that at the time we advise that do the ROP screening after 2 weeks. We do not advise that. So we should advise that when to do, we should write the date of screening. Where to do, we should write the name of the institute. And we should consult regarding the importance of screening and the blindness related to this. And one more important concept which is coming these days is the telemedicine concept. So failure to screen is the most important cause of ROP related blindness. So now it's our responsibility that every baby should be screened. So this pediatrician should also do the ROP screening with these digital cameras which are coming in near future.
Good. So, and certainly I just want you to touch upon the treatment modalities which are available. What are the treatment modalities available, and whether you want to prefer one over another?
So most of the stage 1 to stage 2 cases, they respond by themselves. Only in case of type 1 ROP we need the treatment, and the treatment of choice is laser. And these days, but anti-VEGF drugs have also come, like bevacizumab, ranizumab. But the indication only for these drugs is the zone 1 ROP only. And rarely we require the surgery like lens sparing vitrectomy, etc. But we should not reach up to that stage. All babies should be screened timely and treated timely.
And all those who are interested more can refer to NNF-CPG guidelines for treatment modalities, latest evidence on treatment modalities.
That was a very important and enriching session, and from this we've had one point of care test done. The ROP has been done, then we definitely move to the next most important point of care test, which is pulse oximetry. And after COVID, we don't have to educate anybody. Everybody knows how to do and what is pulse oximeter. But actually, what is the principle behind the AAP algorithm for screening? Dr. Vishnu, could you please elaborate?
Very good afternoon to all. Thank you very much, madam, for that question. So, the incidence of CCHD is almost 9 per 1,000 live births, and most of them often are asymptomatic at birth. Many of them, mostly the duct dependent ones, become symptomatic once that closes. So it's very important that we identify these babies before they become symptomatic. So, especially before they go in for a cardiovascular compromise. And their outcomes are significantly better when we intervene before they go in for compromise. So, pulse oximetry, as we all know, is a very popular tool which is extensively being used. And the AAP algorithm for screening for congenital heart diseases is based on the pre-post ductal difference using the infrared technology. There are a few newer modifications like the Tennessee modifications which are currently being used, which are easier ones to use, but the sensitivity and the positive predictive value of those has been yet to be validated. So, regarding the screening algorithm, it's the timing for screening. So it's always better that we screen these babies before, after 72 hours. But most of the scenarios, especially in our part of the country, it's difficult for us to screen these babies and to wait till 72 hours because most of them get discharged at least before 48 hours. So timing better after 72 hours and on technology to be used, it's preferably ideal to use signal extraction technology because many times the high motion environment and low perfusion states can be avoided. Screening, we have to like attach a pulse oximeter onto the right wrist and either of the feet and look for the reading. At any point when the screen is 95% or above, it's a positive screen. If the value is between 90 to 94 and there is a difference more than 4% between the right upper limb and the foot, we need to wait and rescreen them after an hour. And again, if the value persists, we need to rescreen again. And if still the value persists, we have to consider them as a failed screen. And at any point of time, when the value is less than 89%, we have to consider that as a failed screen and go on with further evaluation for the critical diagnosis.
Perfect, I think. The zone between 92 to 96 is not absolutely clinically visible, and hence it's important to do a pre-ductal and post-ductal pulse oximetry on all newborns. And for that, do you think we should go by any pulse oximeters, or should we have a built-in algorithm?
So the tendency modification is a easier one where we screen only on the foot and a value between 96 to 97% we do. Next one. Yeah, so 90 to 96 we need to screen. Only the ones which are between 90 to 96 we need to re-screen on the right hand. And less than 90 again we consider as a or a phase.
So if we